Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and for our next segment of Next Generation, I am here with Meagan Ulfers today from not so sunny Florida. How are you, Meagan?
Good. So we're here for our last week of the Florida nonsense. I feel like I've been just down here since January. So
You're like a part-time Floridian now, I feel like.
yeah, I feel like I need to change my residency soon.
Dual citizenship.
Right.
Awesome. So while we have you on a break from the shows, let's just talk about how you got started in dogs and then how you kind of progressed to where you are today. So how did you first get into showing dogs?
I did not come from a dog family. I asked my parents for a dog forever. I'm an only child, so I was bored out of my mind by myself. So I wanted a dog, and so we started off, I got a couple hamsters to make sure I wasn't going to kill them. So, and then finally they got sick of listening to me ask. So we got all the dog breed books and looked through them and kind of narrowed it down on what we were looking for. And what my parents thought would fit into our situation. The first dog show that I ever attended was International Kennel Club of Chicago when it was down in at McCormick Place, and that was it had to have been like 1993, 1994.
Were you from the Chicago area?
Yeah, I live my parents still live there. We're like 45 minutes outside the city. So we went down there, it was still benched at that time. So we went and talked to all the breeders, and we met a breeder. Her name was Sue Kaplan, with Norwegian Elkhounds. And yes, so she had a older litter. They were probably coming up on a year old when we went and saw them. We ended up taking one of them. His name was Cooper. Not really show quality, but he was a lovely dog. He was very sweet. I learned a lot. We didn't originally plan on showing him. I did, obedience classes, and I was getting a little bored with that. And Sue was very involved in conformation work. So she can, talk to we were in constant contact with her. She told my parents that maybe I should try doing junior showmanship. So I started doing confirmation classes every week, and the people there were so supportive. And the first dog show that I participated in was the Kankakee Kennel Club. There I showed in juniors, and I showed my dog in the breed. So a year later, at that same dog show, my dog got his first point.
No way!
And then a year after that, the week before those dog shows, he finished. So it was a process with him.
It was a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. So I showed him in juniors, and I was always, I was hooked from day one. My dad, one of my parents would take me to the dog show, but my dad, he videotaped, juniors and the breed. And so I could watch it on, I'd get home and I'd just watch and try to learn what everybody else was doing. And I still to this day love, like, if people are live streaming, or the videos from the nationals, I just love to go watch and see what the dogs that I show like, because
it's one view from up on top, but from outside the ring, it's totally different. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was.
And then who were the people who were helping you at that time, at the very beginning? It was your breeder?
I went to dog shows with Sue a lot. We went to the, and I was kind of limited. I was to the Elkhounds, and, the people that she had friends. Chris Hayek was one of the handlers that was she ran the handling classes that I that I attended, and she was very helpful. My dad worked with a guy, his name is Jerry Dome. His wife bred boxers. And so she let me show her dogs in the breed. And I mean, by this point, I was probably 16 years old. I had to have been 16 years old because I used their car for my driver's exam. So I showed her dogs in juniors. And that was kind of the turning point of, it was a flashier breed, and, they were
a different taste.
Bit more. Yes. So I qualified for the garden 3 times, and one of the bitches that she owned was being shown by Bobby Barlow at the time, owned by Philip Koenig. So everybody decided that I should go down there, and this was at the end of Bobby's career, that I should go down there and learn from him. So I worked for him, and throughout high school, just coming from where I was at, everybody kind of helped Ken and Virginia Murray and the people that were there, and I was friends with all of their assistants, and Margie and Rolly Wilson, I showed in juniors with their daughter. So my senior in high school, okay, I'm gonna go work. I went to some shows with Bobby and would meet them there. And when I applied to college at University of Louisville. So I graduate college graduate high school the next day. I'm driving to Louisville. So I lived with his pug client at the time and her husband. And I only went to college for a semester. It didn't last very long. So
the dog was going to be the focus.
And it was always kind of like, that was always at that point was what I wanted to do.
You knew that was going to be the career.
Yeah, and there was never anything else that kind of
competed
stuck me
with that.
like that. And so much to my mother's dismay, I quit college. My dad understood the jump of it.
He saw the passion.
Yes, I moved back home, and I worked for Holly Eldred for a little bit. And actually, Aaron Myers was the one that volunteered me to work for Robin Novak it was the week before the English Cocker National in Indiana, and I show up there. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I can't tell any.
Very different from a boxer.
I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. I am completely clueless. So, and actually that weekend, Robin tried to get me to go work for Scott Summer. Mm-hmm. So I bet she's very thankful that I didn't. So that weekend ended, and she kept asking me to come back. So I did. So finally, the end of that year, I moved to Michigan to her house, and I was there for almost 8 years.
Wow. And that really shaped the direction of your career and the breeds that you show now, right?
Well, and because she was so, we had 15 dogs, but they were in 2 breeds. So my kind of experience as an assistant is a little bit different than other people's, because I got so much ring time, because we would have, 2 in every class at every specialty that we went to. And, I kind of, she would always have a competitive Springer and a competitive English Cocker. And so I got to go and place and win groups.
Be in the groups. Amazing. What an opportunity.
Yeah, it was great. And, 2 of the years that I was there, she was #1 sporting dog with the Telltale Salute dog, and then the Madam President bitch, which that was super exciting, super educational to just,
totally
be involved in that whole new experience. And at that point, and now she's shown lots of top dogs, but RB was really the first dog that she did that kind
That
of
level.
winning. So it was very cool because we were kind of, you know, figuring it all out together. So and I did a lot. You know, when she would have to go fly places, I would, you know, take the rest of the string of dogs, and you know, by
you were
that
given a
point,
lot of responsibility at that time.
which, you know, looking back at it now, like, that was huge. The fact that she could trust me that much was, I mean, incredible. Like, now in the position that I am, like, now you understand it.
That
how
you
much
didn't
of a
kind of see it at that
responsibility
moment,
that
but
is.
now you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So
What are some things that, because now, you know, you're obviously very involved in breeds that started in that position. Are there any things that that you kind of really took away from that time with Robin that you kind of keep in the forefront of your mind now when you're showing English? Or
I mean, I think that, you know, she always kind of instilled in, you know, the condition of the dogs, and, you know, especially English Cockers, they are not a very easy breed to get in their heads. So kind of being able to show as many dogs there as I did, and, you know, when we would go to a specialty, I would get the stupid ones. So that were, you know, she would take the one that was perfectly trained and was going to win, and I got the one that, you know, generally was learning. And so if I didn't want to look like an idiot, I had to figure out how to make them do it.
Made you a better handler.
Yeah. And I think going through those two top dogs, just that whole experience of how, you know, you kind of have to navigate, you know, judges, and the you know, the whole experience was very eye-opening, and you know, I definitely took a lot away from that, you know, and just
it's a whole different competition when you're playing that race as opposed to finishing a dog.
Yes, it's completely different. So, you know, and it definitely was very eye-opening to me of how much goes into actually having to get a dog to win at that level. So
absolutely. What were some of, in your time in dogs, some of your favorite memories or experiences? They could be wins or just a time with somebody or a specific dog.
I mean, I've been very lucky. The people that I've gotten to special dogs for that have been great. And even if, you know, now, you know, a lot of people I still show dogs for, and they've just been so supportive of me from the very beginning. But I think one of my favorite moments was the Celtic Thunder dog that I showed him. He was number one that year. He came back. He is owned by a woman in Japan, and he came back because Mrs. Cherry wanted to breed some bitches to him. So while he lived at my house, and Lily Mancini showed him in juniors that year while he was there. We didn't really do a whole lot with him, but she showed him in juniors. So we enter him at the garden. She shows him in juniors at the garden. She makes finals. And then the next day I win the breed with him, which was amazing. And then she goes best junior with him. So she went straight out of, and just, you know, Lily had, you know, worked for me from the time that she was 10 years old, and just seeing the whole experience of it was so cool. And
it's like the complete Westminster experience.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
with you
like,
as the person and the dog and the venue.
I mean, he was 9 years old at that point.
Wow.
I mean, and that dog he had so much heart, and he was so much fun. That I think that, you know, through that whole thing, you know, he showed, in the breed at whatever time, and then we go through all the things to get over to the garden, and he shows amazing in Best Junior, and he has to run out, and I mean they had to hold all of the kids there so they could get a picture because the dog was in the sporting group. So
right, and that does not happen that often.
No.
That's pretty unique.
No, so
That's
that was very, very cool. So
amazing. And I think a great way to wrap up would be in your reflection as somebody who started not in dogs, but was just looking for a companion pet, and then he had progressed to make this whole life and career. What would be some things that you might have learned that you keep in mind when you're meeting new people or introducing someone, whether it's a client or a junior, that you think would be important for others to be aware of to sustain the sport of dogs?
I mean, you never know, especially in children, that want to get involved in this. Like, you never know where it's going to lead them, and so to be supportive of them and give them the knowledge to kind of be successful at this, and push them to kind of be better, and just be there to kind of, if they have any questions, if they need to go to the dog show, if they're feeling insecure about something, to try to make them feel good about the whole experience, because so much of this, especially, in this kind of period of time of participation trophies and this and that and the other, our sport, there's only one winner, really. There's many more days that you walk away from this losing than you do winning. So I think that that's a little hard for some people to grasp.
Sure. Especially with the effort that it takes to get to a show, like with you having your dad go and having the video. Like, I did the same thing, so I know exactly what that's like, where you're like, am I crazy?
I mean, my parents were super supportive of me from day one, and I mean, I was never really involved in sports at school, or I played the violin for a while, and I did Girl Scouts, but once I started showing dogs, like, that was it. That was the only
your
thing.
Niche thing.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, that you have to see that potential in somebody, kind of like with a young dog, and you have to kind of guide them along and shape them along. It doesn't just come out.
Exactly. And I think that, like, I mean, saying that, like, with Liam, the Celtic Thunder dog, like, I mean, from showing him as a puppy to, winning the breed at the garden, and, him being number one and winning all those best in shows, like, is so rewarding, because I was like, I saw the potential from when he was a baby. And I mean, and even the dog, the English Cocker dog that I'm showing now, I mean, I showed him from his very first dog show. So it's kind of cool to, see everything kind of come to fruition. And
and it takes that vision and that kind of patience to see that from the beginning, and not be wanting something right now that's convenient with both people and dogs.
Exactly. So, and the people that the people that own my English Cocker dog now, like, they're wonderful, so supportive, and I never feel like, if we have a bad day, they're not going to come back at me as, what did you do wrong? Or, the dog home, or, I've never, I end up, Liz would always say when I was showing the last black dog that I ended up putting more pressure on myself than she ever would. So.
Sure. And I think that's such a great point about the sustainability of doing what you do, that you do have to kind of be aware of maintaining your own kind of mental health and your ability to sustain that campaign just like the dog does. And that comes from the organization and the people who you're working with just as much.
Yeah. I mean, and having, not only your owners that are obviously, they have a huge part of, but the people that you have around you that,
Yes,
you know,
the people you choose to listen to and the people you choose not to.
yes. So
I think those are some great points, Meagan. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today. It was a real pleasure to see that progression, especially as somebody who kind of started from, you know, a fresh insight in the sport and have gotten to where you are now. It's really cool to hear that progression. And thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, no problem. So.